I got the moves. I got the moves. I'm making moves. You gotta move. You gotta make the city move. Like, whoa. I make the city move. I got the move.
Shams broke some crazy news out of nowhere this morning, stating that Donovan Mitchell is reluctant to fix his relationship with Rudy Gobert. According to a source, it doesn't seem salvageable, which is just awful news for Jazz fans. The Jazz had a pretty good year this season, and were even a top 3 seed at one point before the season was suspended. However, things have just gone downhill since the whole thing started, which makes me wonder now, what is next for the Utah Jazz franchise? With Gobert hitting free agency after next season, it makes me wonder what direction the Jazz will be going in for their future, and that's what I'll be discussing in today's video. If you're new here and enjoy the video, be sure to subscribe for more NBA content like this. I'm trying to hit 15k by the end of the year, so all support is greatly appreciated. But with that all being said, let's talk about the Utah Jazz.
Lucas.
The Utah Jazz had a pretty good season, as I mentioned. They finished the season as the 4th seed with a record of 41-23, and were only a game and a half out of a top 3 seed. To say they low-key surprised people this season is a bit of an understatement, as I don't think many people saw them finishing as a top 4 seed. Most had them around 6th to 8th. They were led by the duo of Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert, both making their first ever All-Star appearances this year. Normally, I'd talk about the majority of the roster here, all the guys that contribute heavily for the Jazz. However, this is a bit of a different what's next video, so I'll only really be focusing on Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell here today. Gobert had yet another standout season for the Jazz, and was finally rewarded for his efforts with that elusive All-Star appearance. He averaged 15.1 points and 13.7 rebounds per game, and shot almost 70% from the field. He was once again considered as a Defensive Player of the Year candidate as well. Donovan Mitchell also had a great year himself, averaging a career-high 24.2 points per game and 4.2 assists, as he shot 45% from the field and 36% from 3. These two looked like the duo of the future for Utah, a couple of guys that would try to take the Jazz to their first finals appearance since the John Stockton and Karl Malone era. However, this has all changed recently. As we all know, Rudy Gobert was the first player to knowingly have contracted the virus, and from what it seems, he managed to pass it on to his teammate Donovan Mitchell. This has caused a lot of uneasiness in the locker room for the Utah Jazz, with a report coming out today from Shams saying that Mitchell is reluctant to fix his relationship with Gobert. There are more reports from the past couple weeks as well, showing Mitchell's unhappiness with Gobert. One saying Donovan Mitchell is upset with how Gobert treated the situation, and in an interview recently with Good Morning America, Mitchell said it did take him a while to cool off over the whole thing. Thankfully, both players have now recovered from the coronavirus, but one thing that may be unrecoverable if these reports are true is Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert's relationship. So, what do the Utah Jazz do next? In my opinion, I think they should run it back next season. It's too early to me to make a big call and decide to do a trade. That's a bit irrational, and hopefully, over next season, Mitchell does cool off over the whole thing and forgives Gobert. That's all the Jazz could ask for. However, if Gobert and Mitchell's relationship isn't fixed by the trade deadline of 2021, then I think it's likely and probably smart for the Jazz to trade Rudy Gobert. They should do this as Gobert enters free agency that summer, and again, if the two stars haven't bonded yet and fixed everything up, he may walk for nothing, and that's not what the Jazz want at all. Now let's just be hypothetical for a second. As I've stated many times, the relationship between the two is apparently unrepairable at this point, which may cause one of the two to request a trade in the off-season. If the Jazz were to trade any of the two right now, it'd have to be Rudy Gobert, as Donovan Mitchell is A, a better player, B, has a higher ceiling than Rudy Gobert, and C, is still very young and is yet to hit his prime. Basically, Mitchell can be built around more easily, will probably get the Jazz more success than if they keep Gobert, and he will be with them for years and years to come, and he'll keep getting better. So, being hypothetical here, if the Jazz were to look for a trade involving Rudy Gobert, what would the deal look like? I have spoken about this trade before in a video I made a couple weeks ago, but it is relevant here, so I'll briefly repeat it. It involves the Houston Rockets. Here is what the trade would look like. The Rockets receive Rudy Gobert, and the Jazz get back Eric Gordon, Daniel House Jr., Ben McLemore, Tyson Chandler, Isaiah Hartenstein, as well as a second round pick for this year's draft and a future first round pick. For Utah, the biggest pickup is Eric Gordon, as he can add scoring prowess to the Jazz lineup, or he can be flipped in the future for more assets, as guys like Jordan Clarkson may be seen as more valuable than him. Daniel House Jr. can be a great shooter they can rely on off the bench, as he shot 37% from 3 this year on Houston. I love the addition of Isaiah Hartenstein for them though, because when he started for the Rockets, he's been really successful and had some great games. Unfortunately, D'Antoni hated playing him for some reason, even though he was shining. So on the Jazz, I'd hope he would get more of an opportunity to prove his worth and show off his potential a bit more. Obviously for Utah here, losing Gobert hurts, but I think what they get in return compensates enough, with the picks and guys like Tyson Chandler and Hartenstein filling his role for the time being. The trade will sting, but if the chemistry is running low for the team, especially between the two All-Stars, that's not a good thing and needs to be fixed, and sometimes the best way to do that is with a trade. I won't go in too much depth here for the Rockets, as they aren't the point of this video, but the reason as to why I see them wanting to get Gobert is because in the playoffs, when they end up happening, the small ball lineup failed to work, and Gobert can basically become a better replacement of what Capella was for them earlier this season. So that is a trade the Jazz can make if things are getting really bad between Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert, and one needs to be traded ASAP. Unfortunately for the Jazz, there isn't really anywhere else to look. They don't have any draft picks, and the 2020 free agency class is pretty underwhelming. So if they do want to shake up their team a bit, going for a trade is the best route in my eyes. But overall, this is what I think the Utah Jazz should do next. I believe they should run it back next season with Gobert and Mitchell, and hope the rift between the two can sort itself out and they can at least forgive each other and move on. However, if that doesn't happen, I do think it would be smart to move Gobert at the 2021 trade deadline so they can get at least something back for him instead of losing him in free agency for nothing. Personally, trading either Mitchell or Gobert right now because of this whole situation is a bit irrational to me, and the only reason why I'd see the Jazz doing it is because one of these two stars requests a trade out. If that does happen, then trading Gobert is the best option, and I think the Rockets would be pretty good suitors for them in making a deal happen. At this time, the Rockets are pretty much the only team I've seen somewhat interested in Gobert, but I do have no doubt more teams will pop up as we head into summer. Overall for the Jazz, this isn't looking good. Mitchell is clearly very frustrated and upset with the whole situation, and if Shams' reports are true, which they generally are, some big blockbuster trades may be on the way. Does it mean the contending days are over for the Jazz? Not yet, but unfortunately, the future of this star duo staying together any longer is becoming more and more bleak by the day. And that will conclude the video. What do you guys think of this? What's next for the Utah Jazz in your opinion? Should they trade Gobert and Mitchell, or do they try run it back for one more year? Let me know all your thoughts on this down in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to drop it a like and subscribe. But with that being said, I am out. Peace.